Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and good morning to you. I want to add my welcome to the beginning of this message to remind you, in case you haven't gotten the message loud and clear, everyone in the room, everyone participating on online campus, how very important your consciousness is to this community. So thank you so much for spending your Sunday with us. My name is Reverend Leslie, and I'm one of the senior ministers here at New Vision Center, and it is my joy to be able to introduce a new theme this week. It is our final theme for the year, and it's the season of light. And it's going to sweep up all of the wonderful holidays that we get to celebrate in November and December in the Judeo-Christian calendar, as well as in a number of other calendars. There are pagan holidays. There are all kinds of holidays in Islam and in the Hindu faith. And so we just get to do a lot of celebrating in November and December. Today's talk is called Turning on the Light. And it is about how easy it usually is in these celebratory months to just sort of let the light overtake us. Whether we're talking Christmas tree lights or decorations outside or candles burning, the light in children's eyes when they get presents, the light of being together, it can kind of overtake us, right? However, there's a deeper level to it. We can be passive and let the light just come get us. Or we can choose to be an active participant in turning on the light. We don't have to just wait to have goodness wander into our life. We can choose to turn on the light and be an active source of that goodness coming forth. It's never a surprise to me that light works its way into so many words that get associated with the holidays and with spirituality. Words like delightful come to mind. Words like enlightenment that wrap that concept of the light of the one into words that we don't always think of to be necessarily associated with our spiritual practice. But I'm going to put together a case for you today that it is healthier, and especially this year, healthier for us to choose to actively turn on the light. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, said, "The only God we can know is the God which we sense. And since this is an inner light, it is God in and through us. The only God we can know is the light that is inside of us right now." Now, maybe this has happened to you. You're in the middle of a big party, and there's music, and people are laughing, and you're sitting there feeling like the only person in the room, completely alone. Ever had that moment where everybody seems caught up in it, and you do not? We can't always count on what's going on out there to make us feel happy and joyful. The best thing that we can do is learn to cultivate it in ourselves so that wherever we are, it is delightful. However we're showing up with that enlightened oneness presence. So step one for all of this is cultivating the light, and that is cultivating faith. Step one of all of this is anchoring into understanding, know thyself. What do I believe at the core of it? What do I believe? And here's what I mean by that. When we're waiting for the world to wash over us, when we're waiting for the world to show us how good it is, how many times do you ask your friends, how are your holidays? How was your vacation? What we're really asking is, was it all joyful enough to sweep you up into it? What I would like us to contemplate isn't the idea that we can decide we are joyful, full of joy, joyful, because joy is a God quality. It's a way light shows up. First, we have to do what Reverend Penny calls settling our faith. She tells us that if we are worried about something or putting our attention on something or fretting about something or even angry about something, that what we're doing is putting more faith in that something than we are in our beliefs and our trust in the one. Ooh, that's a tough pill for me sometimes. That's a tough pill to swallow, right? But think about it. If I believe fully and completely what this teaching tells me about the nature of myself and the nature of the divine, if I believe that I am the light of the divine, if I believe that the universe is always conspiring for my good, if I believe that everyone is one in the one, how could I ever succumb to feeling like the darkness is real? How could I ever believe for even a moment that the light is not mine? So we have to cultivate those beliefs. First, we have to ask ourselves, do I actually believe that? Doing our study, taking classes, reading Ernest Holmes' texts, reading any spiritual writing, and not just as, okay, I know these are the answers. I know that there is this temptation to be like, I know the answers because I read them in a book. These are the answers. And let that just live up here in the intellect. But if we're cultivating faith, faith lives down here in the heart, and to allow ourselves to drop down into that place of experience, of gnosis, of the kind of knowledge that can only come from personal feeling. What I'm talking about here is the combination of study and self-reflection, contemplative study, and figuring out, what do I actually believe? Once we have dug out the crux of what we believe, then it's up to us to set up our physical world to support those beliefs. That's part of how we cultivate and nurture faith, is to make sure that we're not doing things that are undoing all of our study and self-contemplation. So I have an example. I love really well-made television. I enjoy it. And I especially love anything that is spiritual, any faith. I just get really wrapped up in it. I enjoy it. And I recently started watching a show, and it's so well done. Y'all, it is so well done. And a really interesting topic. Not necessarily in the realm of what I believe, but so interesting, and it's in a religious setting, and it really had me going. And then I realized I was having nightmares, because this particular storyline, as interesting as it is as an art form, is really focused in on the very darkest part of a certain belief set. And I've had to step away because I started energetically buying into that darkness, and I saw it start to show up in the way I was thinking about totally different things. And that's someone who spends a chunk of every single day in extensive spiritual practice. So imagine how easy it is for us to get swept off in a movie or a TV show or music that's really dark. Friends who maybe don't support this particular way of thinking. It's important that we create relationships and choices that support where we're trying to go energetically. Once we know what we're trying to focus in on, once we've really aligned the cultivation of that faith, then it's about taking it inward. And it reminds me of that old story about the New Vision Center member who went to buy a hot dog. And she went to buy the hot dog. She went up to the hot dog vendor and she said, okay, make me one with everything. And the hot dog vendor makes her hot dog, hands her the hot dog. She gives him $20 and she waits. And waits. And waits. And waits. And finally she gets impatient and she's like, what about my change? And the hot dog vendor wisely smiled and said, change comes from within. I know. It's a dumb joke, but it cracked me up. The change does come from within, though, just like the light comes from within. Any change that we're going to have last has to be anchored from within. And y'all know where I'm going with this. I'm going to spiritual practice. And I'm so sorry that every talk lands here, doesn't it? We can all just take a breath in that. It's always going to get here, folks. It's always going to come back to spiritual practice. And the spiritual practice, more than anything, that helps us anchor our beliefs is the combination of prayer and meditation. Meditation to listen, prayer to ask. Prayer to anchor, meditation to receive. It's this beautiful tumbling cycle back and forth, but it requires both. We can't only talk to God, and we can't only listen. I always think of, and I do this impression a lot, so my apologies if you've heard it before. When people say, I don't want to pray about something little, I don't want to bother God with something little, I think of God like a Jewish New York mother, that when we finally pray, God's like, oh, now you call me. You don't call, you never write, I don't hear from you, and now you want me to answer your prayer? We anchor change through consistent daily practice. Don't save it for the big stuff. Pray over everything. Pray more than you want to. Pray more than you think you need to. I'm telling you, these are the things that are going to shift us. When we are anchored, when we've created a schedule that supports our practice, when we've created relationships that support our belief system, when we're making choices of our TV shows and our movies and our music that uplift us and remind us rather than diffusing us and pulling us out, that inner light starts to show up more than we realize. It starts to radiate out. It starts to show up in the world beyond our physical body temple. Ernest Holmes wrote, "You are one with the eternal light itself. The presence of spirit within you blesses everyone you meet, tends to heal everything you touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone you contact. Therefore, you are a blessing to yourself, to humankind, and to the day in which you live." That's just existing. That's before you even try to do anything good or positive. When we are in contact with the inner light, when we have activated and anchored that truth about ourselves, just by walking in the room, we are a beneficial healing presence. And then we can take it further. We can take those beliefs that we've anchored about oneness and about non-judgment, and we can apply them to situations like not knowing for a really, 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 really long time who the president is. Everybody in the world has an opinion. If you don't know that, good job staying off Facebook and not watching the news. In order to be patient and kind to everyone, in order to walk around with an energy of believing things like every vote should be counted, things like every religion should be honored. I'm so glad that we do this candle lighting ceremony that honors every faith tradition. In order to walk that walk, we have to have anchored the belief. And the deeper the belief gets anchored, it just bubbles up to where not only are we feeling the light all the time, but we become a source of inviting people into that feeling tone themselves, where they start thinking, and maybe you get this sometimes, they start saying, what are you doing? What are you doing in your life that you're so much happier? What's changed that you're so calm now? How are you so kind? Why don't you freak out like you used to? Because you are the light. Because you are the light. And when people notice how much better people's lives get, the next question after what are you doing is, how can I get some of that for myself? And you've started a whole nother being on that path. And perhaps all you did was smile and say good morning. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Those are the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we've never needed more people turning on the light than we do right now. Right now. So my call to action this week is to get serious with ourselves. Take some time with your calendar and some quiet and a good cup of tea and get real with yourself. How important is it to you this holiday season to be a source of light, to feel like you're in the light all the time, independent of conditions and circumstances? Schedule it out, make a plan, and then stick to it. Because you deserve to live as the light. You deserve to feel the light all the time. And so let's anchor that into prayer together. How good it is to lean into the knowingness that there is this infinite energy, the organizing principle of life itself that we call spirit, the divine, pure and perfect intelligence, and that it is unfolding continually in and through and as all of its creation. Every person, every person is an unfoldment of this divinity and is made up of divinity itself. I know this is my truth. I know it's the truth of everyone within the sound of my voice. I know it's true of everyone everywhere. And so what I know and claim for us this day and every day is that the light of the one is rising up and activated in every single one of us, shining forth with such power and beauty that it cannot help but burst out of our physical experience and touch energetically people all around us, opening up hearts and transforming lives through simple acts of kindness and warmth and smiles and acceptance. I know for each one of us the calm and anchored peace that comes from a settled faith, from a knowingness that God's got this, God's got us, God's got me. And an immunity from being buffeted about by whatever seems to be happening in the outside world. So grateful I am for the good that is unfolding in this community and in each of our individual lives right here, right now. And so I just release this word into the action of universal law and call it good as we say together, and so it is.